What I'll do in this video is go over each example over here that you had incorrect on your practice test for Module 1 and go over the strategy with you. So I just copied the problem and we see it's to the -3 and they want it in positive exponents. So some are going to go down to the denominator and some will stay in the numerator depending on the sign. Now notice you have a negative quantity that's going to be raised to the 3rd power. So we can forget about this sign because we know this whole thing will be negative then. So we don't have to worry about that sign anymore. So this is going to be 2, and we multiply exponents when we're raising powers to a power. So this becomes 2 to the -3, which goes to the denominator then as 2 to the 3rd, which is 8. Now g to the -4 times -3 is going to be g to the 12th, because we respect the sign of the signs. 2 negatives make a positive. And this is going to be h to the -9th, which goes down here in our denominator as a 9. And there is your answer. So for this next one, again, we're going to multiply this by this, and we get this. Then we take our exponents and add them, and that gives us a -15. So now we have it in scientific notation yet, and the answer is no, because this is a number not between 1 and 10. So we have to move our decimal place over one place, and when we do that we have to add a positive exponent to this. So this now becomes 8.6338 times 10 to the -14. By moving it over one place, we have to add a positive exponent of 1 here, which gives us this. Now this is scientific notation, but they're asking us to note the significant digits. And the rule is, how many significant digits do you have here? 2. How many here? 3. So it's the least number of significant digits in your answer. So we only need 2 significant digits in our answer. Now we go then to this place and see that it is a 3. So we just drop these. If it were a 5 or higher, we would add 1 there and this would become a 7. So this then is your answer, and that's what you have there. Now in reading this, it says 8 less than the difference of 2 numbers. Now they want you to use m and n as your 2 numbers, so the difference between them would be m minus n, and then it's less 8. So less 8, and there's that answer. Now you had part of this correct. This is correct. We now want to look at what is the set of all x values such that function of x equals 2. Well, we said for the function symbol we can substitute a y, so we know that y is 2. So if you use a t-chart to organize your data, that works out. So when y is 2 right here, what will x be? Well, this is the point, and x at this point is 2. And that's what they had, not -2. Okay. Now, when they ask you to find the domain of this, it would be what values can x be in this function? Well, it can be any real number, but it can't be a number that would make our denominator a 0. So if you just equal this to 0, you then get that x equals 11. So if x were 11, it would make this denominator a 0. So it's all real numbers, but x cannot be equal to 11. Again, this is your answer. Now you see the answers when you finish your test, and hopefully you can go back and look through your homework log notes, and that's where you're putting these, and use that to study to improve your score next time. Now in doing these systems of equations, they are asking you to use substitution, where you would solve for y and then put that substitution at y, and that would be one way. And you do have the option, in a sense, to use another method, and to illustrate that, I'm going to do the elimination method, or the addition method, where we're going to modify this equation so that the y's will cancel out. So what do I have to multiply this to make it a 2y? Well, 2. So my new equation then, I'm going to put on top of the other one. This is 10x plus 2y equals 24. Okay, so this becomes 14x. Here these cancel out, and I get 28. So I divide both sides by 2. X is, 14. X is 2. And that's what our x value is. Then if we said x is 2, we go into this first equation, let's say. 5 times 2 is 10, plus y equals 12. Transpose the 10, it becomes a negative 10, 2. And that's the solution. So we'll do this next one in parts. You can use any method. So there's our first equation, there's our second equation. I wrote my first equation there, second equation up here, because I'm going to solve for the letter A here, in a sense. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So here then this becomes A. Canceling this out becomes a negative 5b, and this is 4. Then I'm going to solve for A by transposing this to the other side, and I get this. I'm going to take this, my value for A, and put it where the A is up here. So that's where I am. So distributing here, I get this. Grouping like terms, I get this. Subtracting 52 from both sides, I get a negative 42. Now divide both sides by 56. I get this. That simplifies to 3/4. This is my B term right here. Now, if I have B as a negative 3/4, I can use this equation right here, where B is a negative 3/4, and I want to get rid of my fractions, just to help out a little bit. Multiply everything by 4. So I get 4a. Here the 4's cancel out, and I get a negative 15 plus 16. Well, this is going to become 4a equals 1. Divide both sides by 4. I get a equals 1/4. And there we see that. So this, you have two types of meal. A 14% that we'll call X. That's the amount of 14% we need. 7% Y. And we want to end up with 280. So X plus Y equals 280. This is the portion of that 280 That's 14%. This is the portion of the 280, that's 7%. And we want to end up with a 9%, something in between, of 280. Those are your equations. So I would suggest you just get rid of fractions, and you can use the elimination method. If you multiply this equation by a negative 14, this will become negative 14, this becomes negative 14, this becomes something, and you eliminate 1, and your answers are, for the X is 200 pounds, and 80 pounds. Okay, again, I'm not going to work it. We've done a couple of these already. This is to test your algebra skills. You see the answers, give it your best shot. Here, this is a distance problem, which is distance equals rate times time. And we know the distance is the same. So he's going with the current, 3 hours, his rate plus the speed of the current, which is rate altogether. Return trip, he's going against the current, so rate, his rate in still water minus the speed of the current took him 9 hours. So it's basically 3 times r plus 6 equals 9, r minus 6. So we distribute. We're going to solve for r, so we transpose the r, becomes 6r. Transpose this, 72. Divide both sides by 6. R equals 12. And there's the work to support your answer. Now remember, you can always pause, rewind, fast forward. So the strategy for absolute values is write this just without the absolute signs, or the absolute sign on this side, but on the right side, you say it could have been an opposite sign, negative 8. So here we solve it. Transpose the negative 1, becomes 9, divide by 4, x equals 9/4 here. Transpose the negative 1, becomes a positive 1, makes this a negative 7. Divide both sides by 4, x equals a negative 7/4. And those are your answers. Well, again, I don't want to make it too long. It's just over 13 minutes, and good luck.